What if I told you that there are more than 20,000 temples on an island that is barely larger than London? And that the gods are said to stroll there with the same ease as tourists? Bali has been on my list for years, but for some reason I kept putting it off. It seemed too crowded to me. Too excited. Too many pictures of people standing at gates to heaven. I was afraid it would feel fake. But I was wrong. I traveled alone on this trip, which was my first time in Bali. Not in a group. No great plan. It was only a week of soft light, warm air, and a feeling that I was going to find something new. The first thing that caught my attention was how different it felt from locations I had been. The markets in Thailand were louder. The smells of street food were stronger in Vietnam. There was more order in Japan. However, Bali had a serenity that permeated everything, even the busiest parts. I therefore give to you a 7-day tour around the island, walking where I could and by taxi or guided tour when I needed to get to the distant parts of the island. You'll learn about peaceful rice fields, hidden temples, cliffs that plunge into warm water, and a tour that opened my eyes to a world I never would have imagined for the cost less than a pair of shoes. Are you interested to learn the truth about Bali? Together, let's explore Bali. I have spent several years traveling by myself. I've traveled through beautiful valleys, through bustling cities, and spent the night in places where I didn't speak a word of the native tongue. However, Bali, an island I had somehow missed up until now, surprised me more than I expected. Despite only lasting 7 days, had a greater impact than many of my longer travels. Just before midday, my plane landed in Denpasar. When the doors opened, warm air rushed in, and with it the aroma of sea wind and sun-warmed flowers. The sound of motorbikes, quiet whispers, and quiet cries from taxi drivers increased quickly outside the airport. It wasn't clear, but it was busy. It was more like a noise that encircled you. I selected Ubud as the starting base and was driven north in a cab. The ride took about an hour. We passed rice fields and shrines covered with black and white cloth. Like silent guardians, little sculptures stood at street corners. It was similar to Chiang Mai, Thailand, but with more color and signs of daily ritual. Spirit appeared to touch even the little paths. My hotel was located on a small street with stores selling crafts and cafes. I dropped my backpack and started walking. I usually discover a new place's layout by walking. Wood carvings, soft lights, bright fabrics, and the aroma of fresh food coming from modest family kitchens were just a few of the subtle elements that filled Ubud streets. I noticed a modest restaurant with just 2 tables and a small counter. I ordered nasi goreng, which is just plain fried rice topped with a fried egg. The owner gave me a smile that only someone who is proud of their food could have. She asked if it was my first visit to Bali once I was finished. I nodded. "You'll have fun," she added. "Bali is spirit." I quickly felt it. Afterwards, I went into the sacred monkey forest. Even though I've been in places where monkeys live, there's always something strange about being a visitor. The forest was shaded and cool. Old statues were covered in moss. Fearless and playful monkeys jumped from branch to branch. As if pondering intently, one sat and gazed at a leaf. Another took something shiny from a tourist's luggage and hurried away. I stood back and gazed with a mixture of surprise and caution. For me, night came early. Traveling may be physically taxing, particularly when most of the effort is spent on your feet. The following morning began with a brief but heavy downpour which soon stopped. I walked along the Kampuhan Ridge, a green trail that crosses long, smooth slopes, because the air seemed fresh. There was silence on the path. I let the wind swirl over me as I went on slowly. It was somewhat similar to walks in the surrounding area of Hong Kong, but with more open space and fewer people. Standing over the fields with nothing but green all around has a certain peacefulness. I headed to the Tagalalang rice terraces by taxi. Each layer of these terraces is bright green and built like steps that descend the hills. As I climbed a twisting road, I saw farmers moving slowly and calmly to tend to their crops. Small cafes overlooked the whole valley from above. I watched birds fly across the fields while I sipped a cold drink. There, time seemed to slow down and to stretch out as if the land itself wanted to relax. I planned to find out more about the island's past the next morning. At a little booth close to my hotel, I made an arrangement for a guided tour. The trip cost 550,000 rupees, or roughly $55, for the whole day. I was met with a warm smile by my guide, Pyu, who promised to show me sights with stories. Not just the popular ones, he said. We drove to Tirta Impul, a 10th-century holy spring temple. To get involved in a ceremonial cleansing, people lined up in the water. They let the water pour over their heads as they went from fountain to fountain. Pyu gave me an explanation of each step's meaning and described how the pools were used for restoration and healing. The sound of flowing water filled the air, giving the temple an ancient yet dynamic feel. We then went on to Gunung Kawi. With its tall stone shrines that represent the homes of ancient gods, this temple is carved out of cliffs. You must descend numerous steps and pass through green walls to get there. It appeared that the sculptures included tales too old to be named. Pyu told tales of past kings and queens. His speech brought the past to life, making it seem almost real. On the way back, we had a stop at a tiny coffee farm. I sampled Bali coffee, which is smooth, black, and strong, and wonderful in its own way. When we got back to Ubud, the sun was low. Pyu bowed his head and whispered, "May Bali stay with you," before going. I was hoping it would. I went south toward Uluwatu for the rest of my trip. After leaving Ubud, I rode in the cab through narrow streets that gradually opened up to views of the blue sea and cliffs. The sound of waves echoed far below my little hotel, which was located close to the edge of a steep cliff. In the late afternoon, I went to Uluwatu Temple. Wide views of the ocean out to the horizon were made accessible by the path along the cliffs. The temple itself stood over the sea like a protector. I joined everyone for the kikak dance at dusk. A group of dancers chanted and moved in a steady, deep rhythm. Their voices made an ancient and powerful sound. The flames in the center became brighter as the sun sank into the sea. I had witnessed dance performances in different countries, but none of them had the same raw, ancient feeling as this. I headed to Padang Padang Beach next morning. The trail descended between big rocks before opening onto a small bay with warm water and sand. I let the waves push and tug at me as I swam for some time. Surfers move in straight lines across the water. The cliffs here gave everything a wilder edge, although the location was a bit like Mexican beaches. I afterwards went to Malasti Beach in a scooter taxi. It stretched far along the coast, was brighter, and was wider. I went on walking until my legs got heavy. Warm light illuminated the rocks behind me as the sun set in a gentle orange cloud. I went on another guided tour to Nusa Penida, a little island southeast of Bali, because I still wanted to see more of Bali's fringe. The tour cost about $65, or 650,000 rupees. It was a difficult trip in the speedboat, bouncing over waves that struck hard on the sides. However, everything opened up into expansive views once we got there. We traveled to the well-known Kelen King viewpoint via rough roads. From above, the cliff looks like a massive T-Rex head, with its neck dropping into a brilliant blue ocean. I went halfway down the steep trail so that I could feel the rush of the scenery and the steepness. The beach below appeared untouched, a hidden place protected by cliffs. Next was Angel's Billabong, a naturally occurring pool with crystal-clear water. It held a color of the sky and looked like glass. Waves crashed in and out of the perfect circle formed by a massive granite arch at Broken Beach. The island had a raw, almost wild feel to it. The sun had already set when we got back to Bali. I had the kind of positive tiredness that comes from watching something unique and real. I stayed next to Seminyak on my last day. I wanted to finish with easy steps, nice meals, and quiet moments. There were cafes, surf shops, and small art galleries lining the more trendy streets. It was a bit like Honolulu, but with a slower pace and more local craftsmanship. Seeing the waves drape over one another, I walked over the sand. The blue sky changed to yellow. As I sat there, I thought all that the island had revealed to me. Bali may seem chaotic, yet there is a gentle quality that never seems to go away beneath the chaos. Everyday life is still influenced by its lengthy past, which was formed by Hindu rulers, Dutch rule, artists, and visitors. The locals greet foreigners with smiles while maintaining an immense amount of pride in their culture. You somehow learn to move with the island as it moves at its own speed. It takes more than 7 days to get to know a place. However, sometimes you may sense its energy in just 7 days. And you take Bali's energy with you. I appreciate you traveling through Bali with me for a week. Looking back, the calm times, the leisurely mornings, the friendly greets, the gentle strolls across rice fields, stand out more than the beaches or the temples. Bali welcomes visitors with open arms while keeping its past close. Take frequent walks if you intend to visit. When necessary, take a taxi. Take 1 or 2 tours. Allow the island to connect with you in its own pace though. There's always more to see, discover, and experience. I hope this episode will help you visualize your own journey via this peaceful, colorful island. Keep going, keep discovering, and keep your heart open to everything around you till the next adventure. I'll see you shortly.